Hey, I'm going to give you a quick tour of Garageband. Over the last couple of years, as I've been teaching students how to use this, knowing where all the tools are can be a little confusing at first. So this is just a quick overlook of where to find everything that you could want or need. When you first come in and create a new project, you're going to get a few choices here. I almost always use the empty project. I like it having nothing on there. And you'll ask you to create a track type. Typically, if you're using a keyboard or you want to record a part yourself, you'll be using the software instrument. And I use this as well if I'm just going to use loops that are found inside GarageBand. If you're going to record with a bass guitar or an electric guitar, particularly in my class, you would use this line input. That would be the same for some microphones as well. I don't really use this selection here. And then sometimes if you're struggling for an idea, I like to start with just drummer. But for today, we're going to just look at using the templated software instrument. So hit create. And as soon as you come in, it'll ask you to kind of assign a sound to your track head. So let's say for today, I want to use the B53 organ. I like the classic rock organ. And that you'll notice that this track head, which is this right here, this tells you what the sound is. This right here is the volume currently, and this is panning. This tells you what ear or what speaker the sound is coming from. This right here, musical typing, is assigning each key on your keyboard to a different note. So this happens to be the G note on a piano, but normally A would be where this H is. So you wouldn't follow this for the notes. This tells you how they correspond. Okay. If you don't like this style, you can also go click here, and you'll have you can just use the classic keyboard setup. All right, so where's everything located? On the very top, you have some very useful tools. You have where it says GarageBand. Actually, a place that you're going to use if you record with a guitar is going to be in your preferences. And the audio MIDI preferences will tell you what your input device is. So if you're using the guitar, whatever you're playing the guitar through would be your input, and your output should always be your built-in output, which is your speakers, because it's built into your computer. Your built-in speakers should be what you're listening to. That's even if you're using headphones. But for most people, they won't need to go here, but that's where the preferences are. Editing, these show you the hotkeys. A lot of times, using Command Z is very useful. Cutting and pasting, Command C, Command V, sorry. This is moving your tracks around. Tracks are each of these lines. You can delete an individual one. You can show a tempo track. You can show a master track. A master track is like the volume for all of them combined into one. Anyways, this is where tracks can be found. And then whenever you want to bounce a song to make it so something you can carry on your phone or put it in your Google Drive, you're going to go to share, export song to disk. So that's the main things you need. You can play. If you're looking for keyboards, they're going to be underneath window. You can look at your different options here. I really like the editor, to play with the editor, because it shows you the specific notes. And with drummer, it's very useful. But you can also come back and just hide it. And these show you the keys as well. So if I just wanted to do it on the keyboard, I would hit E when I'm here to get rid of that. So on the very top, you have these controls here. This is controlling your playback, so what you're hearing. Stopping, playing, recording. This loops a section so you can hear that over and over. This area here tells you what time signature you're in, so 4/4, meaning that there's 4 little nodes or beats within each measure. The tempo. To change those, you can double click in them and change it to whatever tempo you want. Like that. So let's listen. Right now this metronome's on. That's what the clicking that you hear is, and that's corresponding with each of those little lines. But if I sped it up to 120 again, and I press play, oh, I didn't hit enter. So make sure you hit return, and there you go. Twice the speed. You notice this little metronome here is that's what you hear clicking. That keeps you on beat, but that's not included in the song. But if you don't want to have it, you can hit K or just click that button there and get rid of that. This 1, 2, 3, 4 is a count in. So whenever you press record, it'll give you a count in to make sure you're on the right beat. You can change the appearance of this to make sure it's just beats in time. So it'll tell you how far you are into a song along with the beats over here. Or you can make it just beats or just time. This right here is sort of like a master volume control here. What's really useful about that is you'll notice when you're playing, put this on, you can see how things hit. And what you don't want it to do is go red. That's called clipping. So you might want to cut the volume down here before you cut down the volume on your computer. This is the more useful thing to mess with. Here are where you can leave notes for yourself. If you're taking notes on where you're writing a song, you probably won't use that very often. This is a very useful thing for you here. This is your loops section. When you first click on it, as your first time in there, it'll ask you to index. It might take a second. But once it does, it gives you all these loops. Loops are pre-recorded instrument parts that you can drag into your song and just use those. They are categorized by instruments or types of music or different types of moods. They're also categorized by how many beats they are. So 8 beats, for example, if I took this acoustic strum and I drag it into the front of the song, it says 8, and you can see that it takes up 4 and 4, so 8 of those. You notice that I had to drag it in underneath a track head. You can't drag them into an already existing track head. Normally, you shouldn't do that anyways. You want to drag them into a blank space. So we can also zoom in and out with this slide bar here so we can get a better look at the wave form, or what that looks like, what the audio looks like. I guess there's one way to say it by doing this. What's also useful is you can, if you know the name of something you're looking for, you can start typing in the search bar and look for that type. And you'll notice that there tends to be some bass guitar parts, a lead guitar part, and a rhythm guitar. So there's a couple different things. If you stack them together, they're meant to go together. So I'll come over here and I can click on this track head and I can delete it. Or if you control right click on it, you can just go over here and hit delete track and it'll erase that part. So these are some of the key things that are useful for just finding loops and so on. When it comes to making a modification to the sound you have, let me quickly build a song. And we're just going to pull in a okay. There you go. I have a long loop there for my guitar, and we erase this top track. Let me go find a lead guitar part. I'm going to start that at the end of 4 because I'm in 4/4 time. Let me go back here so you can see it. And that just seems to make more sense to me. Anything that's if it says 4/4, I'd like to start at the end of 4 or the end of 8. Anything divisible by 4. So we have a lead guitar, we have a bass guitar. Let's get a rhythm guitar. Okay. So what I might do actually is I might want to start my rhythm guitar at the very beginning and move my bass guitar to start at the same point that my lead guitar goes. And then finally, I might want to put a drummer in. So far I've been dragging loops in, but I also can go just find a specific kind of drummer. There is a beat here. Well, let's go here and hit add new track this way. And it gives me a track type again. Let's go click on the drummer. And you'll notice that it puts the drummer here. It'll give you all these different types of drummers. So this is a rock song. I can choose the type of drummer I want. And those come with a couple different styles within those. So if I go back to Logan, he has all these different types of drums. So maybe I like his style of drumming, but I want to change up the way he's doing it. What I have here is this preloaded just movement pad. I can watch the waveform up here when I move it. You'll notice that it gets more complex and it'll be louder. So here's the difference. He's doing more in the bass drum. Yep. Okay. I also just find a different style under his. So I'll leave it here, but let's try it. Let's see what this sounds like. Right. So you'll notice over here the cymbals got moved, and it's a different cymbal style. So the drums are broken up by 3 parts. A side percussion kind of thing, like clapping. Your cymbals are toms, and then your kick and snare. You can change the style of those by selecting them. And here it has cymbals selected, but if I want him to use his toms instead of the cymbals, I can click on those and then choose the type of toms I want him to use. So. Okay. One more thing you can do is add fills. Fills are like the in-between parts for a drummer. You know, those little accents. You can add more and more of those. You also can swing it this way. So, see how his timing's off a little bit? Let's cut his fills up. And that already feels like a totally different song. You can even go back and add hand claps if you want. And those aren't as noticeable on this track. But all right, cool. We have a song. Last thing we want to look at, I'm going to go ahead and go to View. I'm going to hide the editor. And I'm going to hide the library, which is over here. We're going to hit A to show something called automation. Automation is the controls for things like volume and panning. This is your volume, and panning is what ear the sound's coming from. Right now they're kind of set in the middle. But right now this says volume. So if I click on this track head and I click in the middle, you'll see that this yellow line, yellow matches what it says for volume, will show up. And that's the current volume. But I can cause fade-ins and fade-outs if I wanted to. So let's say, for example, I wanted to have this drum fade in. I would go here to click on the track head, click sort of in the middle for the drum, and you can just click and add these little points, and those are like handles. So let's drag this first part down, and let me get rid of that one. You can click, you should be able to click on it and get rid of it. I'll have him slowly fade in this way. So now his volume will start off, if you pay attention to the volume bar, it'll go down to nothing. And if I drag it, it'll slowly increase to this point. And that'll happen automatically. That's why you hit A for automation, automatic. Not only can you do volume, so let's go listen to that first. And you hear the drums slowly come in. And you can do the reverse for fades. Let's play with some other options here. So let's play with this lead guitar, and let's do the rhythm guitar here. We can change it. If you click next to it, there's all these other things. You can change the panning, so what ear it comes out of. You can add echoes. You can add reverb. You can add some of the lows, so make it bassier, or give it higher pitch by playing high. You can add ambiance, like sort of give it like this weird echo. These are all things that you should be playing with to create a different sound. So let's say let's listen to this one regularly, just the rhythm guitar. I'm going to solo it by hitting the headphones. So you notice that these are silenced. If I hit, so I'm only going to hear this. Let's listen to it in its regular form. Okay, that's fine. Now if we go back here and change it so we add a lot of reverb, the reverb is at nothing right now, so the line's going to be at the bottom. If I click it, it's blue, just like this. I'm going to turn it all the way up. Let's hear what it sounds like now with reverb. You hear that echo? A lot of like sort of like a weird echoey thing. So that can create like a different mood for your song overall. All right, well, this is all a bunch of intro stuff, things that are going to be useful for you as you continue to record. Play with these options. If you end up needing to cut parts that you don't like, I'm sorry, let me get rid of this solo so I can never see anything back. If you decide that you want to cut this first part and you don't want to get rid of the whole thing, move your track head where you want it to be. Make sure you're on the right track. And then you hit Command T to trim. And it'll split it, and then you can click on the part that you don't like that. Command Z to undo. And if you want a part to go longer, you can grab it here at the end. You'll see this weird sort of bracket. You can should be able to drag it. That's because I'm on automation, I think. There it is. Yeah, there you go. Make sure you're not in automation. I always forget about that. You can drag the end of it out, and you can have it go as long as you want. And if you decide you don't like it, some section of it, you just Command T, cut that last little part out. All right, this should get you started. The next video I'll do for you will be about how to structure a normal sort of pop song.